the war, got 6 points, I think.
Call to order. Then rise for the invitation and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, as I come today, Lord, I want to thank you for your blessings and for your holy promise. Lord, thank you for our ability to come together and come tonight. Lord, thank you for letting us see another day. And Lord, as we go into this agenda, Lord, please open our hearts and minds and spiritualize and never to make good decisions. As I pray in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Councilman Robert Gamsby. Present. Vice Mayor Nicole Williams. Present. Councilwoman Cheryl McCall. Present. Councilwoman Shirley Aldridge. And Mayor Brown is here. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is additional deletion and amendments. Do we have anything to add to the agenda? Or anything to delete? Next item on the floor. Excuse me, next thing on the agenda is citizens on the floor. 5 minutes, please.
Were you for the regular council meeting or the planning and zoning?
Is that now?
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is the town council meeting. The planning and zoning meeting will follow that.
So anybody have anything to say at this time council meeting? Okay, let's move on. New business. A, resolution 25-13, appointing land development regulation administrator and administrative authority. Pages 3 and 4.
A resolution of the town council of the town of Flat Springs, Florida, designating the town manager as the town's land development regulation administrator and the administrative authority, providing conflicts, severability, and effective date.
I move that we adopt resolution 2513, appointing land development regulation administrator and administrative authority.
I second the motion. Okay, it has been moved and second that we adopt resolution 25-13. Any discussion? Yes.
This basically states that the town manager will be this person.
Yes. Any more discussion?
So our LDRs define the land development regulation administrator as the person assigned by the council to the role of land development regulation administrator. So what this resolution does is it we formally appoint, in this case, we, as our land development regulation administrator.
So he's in charge of interpreting LDRs for us.
He's the chairman of the committee. This is establishing the committee and appointing him as the chairperson of the committee.
So this assigns anything in our LDRs that are the responsibility of either the office of the land development regulation administrator or directly of the land development regulation administrator to be.
So what will his duties be as this person?
Site planning, permitting.
And will he have
There's like 240 items within our LDR.
and will he give it to us, or will he just do what needs to be done?
For the most, so if it's something that he can do that doesn't require the town council, he's doing it on his own.
Motion for all of the we talking about what we're looking at. If there's anything that you questionable about, to come to all of the attorney for advice.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. We got Cheryl. The next one is, resolution 25-14, appointing of local planning agency and planning and zoning.
Read the preamble. Town of White Springs, Florida, Town Council Resolution number 2025-14. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of White Springs, Florida, designated itself as a local planning agency pursuant to section 16.31741, Florida statute. Designated members of the Town Council to perform the functions of the Planning and Zoning Board pursuant to Article 3 of the Land Development Regulations as amended, providing for school board representation, establishing duties, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I move that we accept resolution 2025-14, designating the town council as the planning and zoning agency.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we, approve resolution 25-14. All in favor? Aye. Any discussion? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Any discussion, please?
Are we gonna be working with the comprehensive committee too? To understand what questions we're gonna be answering, or?
No. So the comprehensive plan committee exists right now to bring our comprehensive plan into alignment with the requirements of the state. That is kind of a subsection of what the planning agency does, which will assign themselves as a local planning agency. As far as stuff like this, small-scale amendments to the comprehensive plan, citizen-initiated amendments to the comprehensive plan, that has nothing to do with the plan, the comprehensive plan.
What we're doing tonight has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan?
No, nothing to do with the committee. So what we're doing tonight has nothing to do with the operations of the comprehensive plan committee.
Okay.
That exists specifically just for getting the comprehensive plan into alignment with the process established by the state.
Okay,
And to
so
make amendments to the comprehensive.
if we all become the planning and zoning committee, are we supposed to understand the LDRs?
So for this exercise, we're only supposed to consider the evidence that's presented to us.
No, I don't mean the hearing tonight. I mean this committee, the thing that we're voting that we're gonna do. What are we gonna do?
So are we going to be the permanent zoning board? Is that what you're asking?
What will we be responsible for doing if this makes us that committee? Tonight? In general.
So I think she's asking, are we basically conferring permanently all the powers of the zoning board to ourselves? And then we're doing it.
I want to know what my responsibilities are going to be if we vote this in as a council person. I don't just say, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, I do.
It's very relatable.
Ensuring that the things that are brought to you for action have been reviewed with you, planners or engineer, whatever, who would have to do that before we bring something to you, at least you have been briefed on it, that history, I say, maybe workshop throughout, have workshops and bring to you something that's going to come before you in a future council meeting, so you get time to look at it, deliberate it, ask questions, and get responses.
Like this, the performing tonight is going to be over what we're doing later at the hearing.
You're designating yourself as the local planning agency and the planning and zoning board. The planning and zoning board will then meet after this meeting to hear to do the public hearings on the 3 applications.
So we've got a lot of responsibility this goes through.
That's for, this could be a temporary designation, this may not be a permanent designation. That's something that you guys can determine long-term, but for purposes of what we need to accomplish today and in 2 weeks, the council is designating itself as the planning and zoning board.
So what's the difference between today and 2 weeks?
Today, the planning and zoning board hears the applications, and in 2 weeks, the town council hears the applications. Today, the planning and zoning board makes recommendations.
To ourselves?
Yes, and then in 2 weeks, you make the determination. The land development regulations allow for the town council to designate itself as the planning and zoning board.
So after today's hearings, and I'm sorry, but this to me is a lot of responsibility, and I want to get it straight. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to hear everything. Are we going to make any decisions on anything, or are we just going to advise ourselves next week on what we heard tonight?
We're going to make recommendations at the end of each hearing. And then in 2 weeks, will be another public hearing where people can still come before you. It may be new information, it may be different information, it may be information that doesn't necessarily support the last decision. So it'll be, these are 2 hearings. You're sitting and you're doing both, but you're doing them with different hats on and different responsibilities. Today, recommendation, 2 weeks, decision.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry.
That's it.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposers? The motion carried, ayes have it. Okay, the next one on the list. Resolution 25-15, waiving requirements of resolution 07-13 for RZ 2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03, pages 7 through 11.
So, up until approximately Thursday, we were not aware that the town had a schedule of fees charged for applications, such as the applications that we have before us today. That was the first time that we had heard that they existed, and then we didn't see them, I didn't see them until Friday. They are from 2007, resolution 07-13, and part of the resolution states, until the following applicable fees and charges have been paid in full, no action of any type or kind shall be taken on a petition, appeal, or application. This information was discovered weeks after the applications were submitted, in many cases, months after the applicants have been trying to get this done, and essentially 1 business day before the actual hearing. So in order to hear these applications, the town council needs to consider what to do about that resolution, and an option has been drafted, resolution 2025-15, which would allow the town council to waive the requirements, fees, and charges adopted in resolution 0713 for these 3 applications, and limiting that waiver only to these 3 applications. But the town council has to decide what to do in order for us to be in compliance. Let's see here. The land development regulations state reasonable fees sufficient to cover the cost of administration, inspection, publication of notice and similar matters may be charged to applicants for zoning amendments. The amount of the fees charged shall be established by a resolution of the town council filed in the office of the town clerk. This resolution, the schedule of fees, was also supposed to be posted in the town clerk's office. It was not posted in the town clerk's office. So here we are.
Can there be a third designation? Oh,
Chair.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
no. Can there be a third option in that we postpone these until we can handle them, since the election's not, the final hearing's not for another 2 weeks, rather than just say, do away with it, because there are we do have a good amount of cost, which is the reason towns have fees, but we want to be fair. We don't want to make these people wait another forever and ever, amen. Can that be an option, that we postpone the handling of the fees or something?
Any option is on the table, that's for you to decide. But the town has already paid for publication for these hearings to be heard on the 14th and the 28th. And if the hearings are not heard on the 14th and the 28th, then the town is going to still have to incur fees. So the fees that we've already spent, we're not going to get recouped anyway, because now we have double expense, because we have to start a process.
Well, I'm not saying put off the hearing. I'm saying put off the decision on how much the fees would be, because this is a normal process, is it not? It's not something that just popped up out of the blue. It did for us, but everything does for us. So if this is a normal point of business for a town to have fees, would we be remiss in postponing it till we figure out, are these fair fees for what they were done, and don't make it contingent on before, they have to pay for it before the hearing?
That's up for all of you to decide.
I'm just trying to spare the town when this is not an abnormal plan of business or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying.
It's just for these three applications, it's not for future. It's just
That's
waiving the
understood,
fees.
but we are paying all this money to accommodate them
We did the same thing with down Flex last week, we voted to waive their fees.
Why? We did? We voted to waive their fees?
Didn't we waive something for them last week? Well, we didn't, no, what we did was to not make them, we made it where they wouldn't have to hook up to the city, which is technically waiving a fee for them.
Well, let's just waive the fees for everybody. Always, forever, and ever. This is,
Yes, go ahead.
Are these considered actions, when you get to bill back within a certain time, and actions that have been, that's completed? Somebody, and I think the same state statute covers the zoning, it's got to need to be done in a timely manner. And I know some of these have been there a long time.
The town is obligated to hear these matters in a timely manner, and we have certainly pushed that to the limit already. We've tried, once we became aware of the situation, to try to get these scheduled as quickly as possible. But if for some reason they're not heard today, we've got to start.
I'm not saying put off the hearings. I'm saying put off the choice of whether or not we have fees that are applicable, because we are incurring expenses that are normally covered by fees by every town.
I think it would just be a matter of how you articulate that, what it would look like.
So the most fee that we've had incurred just advertising,
No.
or what?
Well, that's the one we know about, that's the hard cost. There's obviously attorney time and planning consultant time. but it's also hard to
But
give it a number because this is our first time doing it, so we're doing everything from scratch, which takes far longer.
let me ask you a question. With the amount of time that you had to put in, the most of your fees came from the letter, because you got the letter from the attorney, which made it a legal matter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's one of our fees, which means it's still going to be on the citizen, it's still on the town, because the letter went to the town and it wasn't the citizen, correct? Or would that fee be something that the citizens would have to pay, your legal fee? Or is that the town, because you were given a letter from a citizen attorney,
I work for the town, so the town
so it's for the town?
pays.
So it's not a fee that the citizen in question, with the full party would have to pay.
Well, if I see one of those grand totals, back in 2007, that's what we're talking about tonight, with a fee of $1,000, which is exorbitant, any place out there,
That's what?
$1,000, I mean, the fish is only out. Less than 10 acres.
And you're saying that's high or low?
For 20 years ago, you're seeing fees like that more, not around today. But it all, everybody's different, everybody's got different fees. When the town creates their fees, they need to do a lot of research into figuring out what's a fair amount.
We should get that to the Florida legal, but not tonight. What I'm asking is if we postpone this fee thing, don't just throw it in the trash and go ahead and do the hearing with the option to bring this back up. Is that something doable?
So let me see if I can articulate it for you. That this would waive the requirements and fees and charges outlined in the resolution to the extent that it would allow the applications to continue to be heard today. And the town council can meet at a later date to determine if any fees will be charged for these applications. Is that what you're suggesting?
I don't think it's so, because it's not an odd occurrence. It's not a out of the realm thing to have fees for what we're doing. Am I correct? So why would it be totally just thrown in the trash if there's another option?
That would be up to.
Robert?
Up to me?
Now, I just want your opinion.
I
You don't get a
very,
total vote.
I get 6 votes, sorry. I very rarely find myself stumped when it comes to something like this. And I honestly, every option feels like a bad option. Because we have incurred, I don't know, I can't even put a number on it, but it's significantly more than $1,000 of expenses per request. I know that we can't be setting a precedent to not charge fees, but at the same point in time, it's not the applicant's fault that they've had to wait 6+ months to get their applications through. And it feels like either way, we either have to redo the notifications, right? We have to spend another $400 on putting it into the newspaper. This meeting here probably is costing us $1,000 to put together. So that'll all have to be kicked down the line again, but at the same point in time, if we don't charge fees, we open ourselves to an appeal, saying we didn't follow the process. If we don't follow the process, it could all just end up being squashed on appeal anyway. We're back to square one. Nobody wants the state showing up to their house in 6 months and tearing down the trailer because we didn't make them pay a fee. So it just feels like either way, we're gonna make the wrong decision.
Is
So
this
that's why I'm
something
sitting
we
here quiet.
Is this something we can hear from the people like we did before on spending their money?
We can definitely get their opinions on it, but there's risk regardless of what we pick. And as far as deciding to move forward without fees or no fees, in 0713, it expressly says that you're not allowed to work on it until you get the fees. So we'll be off process again if we decide to come back later.
Unless we do the resolution, right?
The process is what the council decides the process is. The fees are what the council decides the fees are.
So if we can make specific fees for this occasion, that would satisfy that.
Yes. Because none of these scheduled fees were ever posted and made available. So it's not the applicant's fault.
Right? It's not the council, well, it's the other council. It's not
This is from 2007.
So can I ask, Ms. McClure?
I would love to give people some
Hold on one second. Let me- Shirley, do you have anything to say about this?
I think I'm following what Cheryl was saying as far as, are we going to wait for this for anybody else to decide they want to do that?
No.
It's these three.
Just these three.
And it's simple as it wasn't posted before.
It wasn't posted, it wasn't known about. No one currently affiliated with the town knew it existed until Thursday. And the resolution also states that any application submitted after the effective date of this resolution must comply with requirements of Resolution 0713 or any subsequent resolution enacted to establish such requirements.
I understand what you're saying. I'm on vacation right now. I do understand what you're saying. I was thinking that Cheryl was trying to think also that if we wait with this, what right do we have to not wait for someone else? Cheryl, am I hearing you right or?
Well, I think if it's worded right, it'll just be specific to these three.
These three states, okay.
Because of these special circumstances.
Okay, okay, I understand. Right.
However, it's responsibility to the citizens to spend their money. I think we should hear from the citizens. All right, guys, somebody say something.
Wait a minute.
No?
Let me read the resolution. A resolution of the town council of the town of White Springs, Florida, waiving the requirements, fees, and charges adopted in resolution 207-13 for applications RZ 2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03, limiting said waiver to all of these applications and providing an effective date.
Okay.
And that's the one we assigned to the city. We're going.
Is
Is the floor open?
Yes, I just think you say anybody from the floor want to speak?
Good afternoon, I'm Roger Greene. My address is 1659 Spring Street, White Springs, Florida. It's nice that we have a landlord that's on the board now, but I can tell you, if you don't have a fee schedule, you're going to be inundated with amendment changes. You set this fee schedule low, you're going to spend all your time dealing with amendment changes. Our tax base in this town is based on, it is somewhat based on this fee schedule. We have very few people paying in. Growth is coming this way. There's going to be a lot of people and a lot of things that are going to come up that are going to request some new and development regulations. And you need to set that fee at a point where it's worth their while. It's got to be really worth their while to amend this land development regulations. What we have parallels the city of Gainesville, Florida. They've been in tax since 1998. We've gone a number of years without our council being even aware of the development regulations. They completely ignore them. So we have to have a fee schedule. And I would advise you ask the applicants right now. You know, if you throw out a number, if they're not willing to pay $1,000 for their application, they may want to withdraw. Save a lot of time and even proceed the application. That's what it is.
Anybody else?
Scott Gay, 10565 Kendrick Street. The town didn't just restart with the change in the administration. These rules have been in existence since 1998. The dollar store following, dollar store 2 following, the liquor store following. We just don't get to restart 3 months ago. But I think by suggesting that you set a special fee schedule, you're creating a second class of applicant. We have two classes of applicant. The ones today, because of special circumstances, they didn't want to be followed. So the town just didn't restart 2 weeks ago. You stepped in the shoes of an incompetent administration. So you have to deal with the issues they created. Don't get to sweep them under the rug. We have to pay the price. There's a price for doing things wrong. There's 2 sides to every transaction. So that's all I can say on that.
I've got a little bit more to say.
Judith McClure, 16630 Spring Street. In regard to resolution R, I think it's 22-02503, I do not wish to see the zoning change to permit this parallel for several reasons. One,
Not yet. We're talking about fees right now.
fees, okay, I apologize.
Yeah, the fees right now.
I will be back.
Okay.
I have 2 pages.
Okay. We're talking about the fees, nothing else but the fees.
I know.
I'm Stevie William, 1697 Cold Sunrise Drive, West Springfield. I am one of the applicants. I do not have a problem with the fee. If there's a fee set, I will pay it.
Okay. Both of them will pay $1,000 fee.
Now, would that be 2,000 for us since it's 2?
Each one.
I win.
But I do have a question to you. When you were working with the town, and this goes back to the down plat that just got approved, when they filed to get theirs rezoned last year, did they pay the $1,000 fee for you rezoned?
No.
So, I'm just gonna put it like this. It wasn't an issue about that. None of you complained about them not paying their rezoning fee. Nothing came up in those meetings about the fee when they applied to get rezoned. And this is a multi-million-dollar company who applied for the rezoning. This resolution is only for 3 properties of people who live here in this town. You did not make a development company. None of you questioned it when the development company wanted to come get rezoned. Nobody questioned their fee table, what they had to pay, and they, looking at this list, they would have had to pay quite a bit more fees than just $1,000 for rezoning. I don't see what the issue is. Some of these things I'm starting to look at as maybe personal with some people, because Diamond Flats didn't pay it, and that's North, I'm talking, you can talk to him, North Florida Planning and BBL, those are $2 million. Those are companies that make well over $1 million. Are we gonna go back and charge them a fee now? Is that what you all are suggesting?
Yes, with
Okay.
your oversight.
As long as it's the same for everybody else, because they've already been approved, so how do you suggest we're gonna go back and do that? Because they've been approved.
Talk to your town attorney.
Because that never came up at all with them, period.
we absolutely cannot use the way the previous administration operated in zoning for any kind of thing. They ignored the 4 rezoning requests for over there for 3 years until the developer lost their funding. Their investors walked away because they got tired of waiting, and they lost everything in that deal. So you're talking about people who lost 6 figures of money because the town sat around and did nothing. So I'm not sure what exactly we're going to glean from how they did anything.
What I'm saying is, when they apply, same people that come to these meetings now are most of the same people who were at the meetings previously. We have the same group that's at every council meeting. No one mentioned this fee schedule then. This is not a permanent thing. It's not like we're sweeping anything under the rug, even though both said that they can afford it and they will pay it, which is no problem. They've already agreed to do it. It's just that I'm asking the question, why this has never come up before with the previous properties that have been rezoned. They didn't pay the fees either.
They didn't know anything about these things?
No, and we just found out about them after they have applied for them and been waiting to do them. So when you're saying be fair, be fair. If they want to pay it, okay, then it's no problem for them because they all can afford it.
Well, can I just say something about
But
that?
it's just,
Wait a minute.
I would obviously rather not have to pay $2,000 on something that I previously wasn't aware that there was any fee on. If it has to be done, it has to be done. But part of this is, what we're rezoning is 2 properties together. So if I get doubled on the fees, that's a little more painful to me. And I think that you'll see in my presentation, that this was originally most likely a mistake by the city to begin with.
I think I made a mistake, but it says $1,000 is up to 10 acres. You got less than 10 acres, you don't get up to 10 acres. It says individual. On that list, less than 10 acres, because I think that would be a
I
final.
think it's probably at the $1,500. Is it
Oh,
$1,500
no,
now?
no,
And
no,
then,
no, no,
yeah,
no, no.
one's going to take $1,000. The official
Both
zoning
sides,
laws.
it's Hutchinson, $1,000.
Yeah,
According to this.
yeah, $1,000.
So if it's less than 10 acres, they don't have to pay
They
the
pay
$1,000?
$1,000.
They pay the $1,000
Up to 10 acres.
up to 10 acres.
So, oh, sorry.
So, George Tuider, 16511 Judith Street, White Springs. So each parcel is its own separate transaction. So if I have several vehicles that I take to the county, even though I live in one spot, I pay registration for each one of those vehicles. So if I'm moving forward to the town with multiple properties to have a zoning change, then there's a process for each one of those properties that the town has to go through. So if each tract is over 10 acres, then that would be a different thing. But if the fee is for up to a certain size, then that fee applies to each property that they want the zoning changed out.
Yes, sir.
Tom Brazil, property owner, 167 Collins Street. First off, I want to say, y'all did a good job, nobody would want it.
Yeah.
Y'all inherited a dumpster fire, okay? I disagree with Scott. You're not, if you waive the fee, you're not creating 2 classes, you're creating 3. You're creating people before, see, the thing for the fees now and the thing for the future. You're creating 3 classes of people. The zoning problems in the town are not your fault. This stuff's been going on for a long time. But we gotta start somewhere to fix things. And you're either gonna have a fee schedule, or you're not gonna have a fee schedule. You know, you start waiting for this one, and we get somebody else from the council, and they get somebody they know, and they wanna wait for that person. You're gonna, attorney probably tell you, you're gonna trick bag doing it. I really think you need to just, if there's fees involved, there's fees involved. Whether they have to wait 2 years or whatever, I agree. You know, if they want to pierce their cost, they will get it to town. But, you know, you can't fix what the previous council did. You can't fix the fact they waited 3 years on somebody's zoning application. Diamond Acres over there, we can't fix that. That's already done. They want to try to tell you to do it, rebuild for fees. If that was what required a zoning change, I don't know if it can or not after the fact, but like I said, I just think the bad precedent, we gotta start somewhere to fix it. Because you got so many zones, you got a property zone that's a school that people are living in, there's so many zoning problems in town. But we gotta start somewhere to fix it.
Anybody else? Yes.
Scott Gay, 10565 Kendrick Street. Nikki, the difference between now and Diamond Street is that was running secret and there was no sunshine. Thanks to you guys were doing things with sunshine. Most of us didn't know what was going on with Diamond Street. Diamond Street should not be signed off on now because there was some false information submitted. That's why they got the permit. So if that's been signed off on, that's a problem. But thanks to the sunshine, we now know about it. We didn't know about the DDL stuff. A lot of them.
It has not been signed off, although the law says we need to, but that's like, I need to do everything on there before.
That's all you can do, just get it in here.
Anybody else?
Is that just saying, is that just?
Council? You got anything to discuss?
Come up with a rewording on this resolution.
So, you want me to use my deductive reasoning of what you are trying to vibe over to me? Okay. Let's see here. So, section 4. Applications 1 through 3 can be heard at the public hearing set forth, and all further action necessary to complete may continue without delay. We can keep that. Okay, we all agree on that, right? All right. Section 2, about waiving the requirements and fees, we can remove that language, okay? And then looking at section 3, that is where we can state what the fees and charges will be for each application, but also when would they be due. And then in section 5, we wouldn't call it a waiver, we would call it something along the lines of these provisions. Is that kind of what you're saying? Okay. And then, go ahead.
In fairness to the applicants, if they would make known maybe to you, what would be a good time frame?
Within a reasonable time period?
Yeah, I think so. That would be fair to them and fair to the town.
Are we getting an entire thousand, or are we gonna?
That is a discount. This is costing us easily between $2,000 and $3,000 an application. They're getting still $1,000. So that's not.
Since the question has come up, the way it's written about less than 10 acres, I think, from what I've been about, I think it's one zoning, although there's 2 applications here, so it may be $1,000, but I'm sure I'd ask the people if they would.
For the first 2,
For the
to
first
provide
2.
them with one.
I think about combining those as one. Don't be objectionable to changing the parcel numbers to one parcel?
Well, that depends, can we have 2 homes on it?
Huh? Well, I mean, I don't know how to,
Yeah.
there's some subdividing that and.
If you say
I
for
think
this
that
year,
might create more problems if we decide to do that.
I think for the sake of this hearing, that's how we word it, that these two applications are considered as one.
The changes, the requested changes are the same and the arguments are the same.
Yeah.
And I would presume with the planning consultant, the evaluation is the same. There's one no
Even
vote.
though we have to file two applications for a law.
If we're gonna pay, if we're gonna do it the correct way, not trying to be, but to make it fair, because he has two properties he's getting zoned. It's not fair to Cynethia to have to pay $1,000 for one property, and he's only paying $1,000 for two. So if we're gonna follow the book, let's follow the book,
And Diamond also will only pay $1,000.
which that means they need to pay 3 now, correct? Because they have 3.
But yeah, wherever the number
Okay.
of lots is, yeah.
So however, if we're gonna follow it, we're gonna follow it and do the same for every person. No special, if we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do it across the board for everybody to keep it fair and above order. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, and then time period wise, do we want to maybe hear from them so that it doesn't have to, I don't want it to be just me. I want it to be in the resolution about time wise.
In the next 60 days, maybe?
60 days? Okay. All right, so we've got section 1 would stay the same, section 2 is removed. Section 3 will state that within 60 days, $8,000 fee will be paid for each application. I'll put out which ones there are, 1, 2, and 3. And then number 4 becomes 3. Applications 1, 2, 3 can be heard at the public hearing set forth for July 14, 28, and all further action necessary to complete the application process may continue without delay. Section 5 becomes 4. These provisions only apply to these 3 applications. Applications submitted after the effective date of this resolution must comply with the requirements of Resolution 07-13 or any subsequent resolution enacted to establish such requirements, fees, and charges. And Section 5, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
And we need to waive Article 1 of Resolution 07-13.
Number 3 is to now can be heard. Let's see. We can add in, if you want, I can add in. Let's see here, the provision that states that the provision stating until the following applicable fees and charges have been paid in full, no action of any type or kind shall be taken on a petition, appeal, or application shall be waived.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have to.
Between the third layer.
Yeah, so we can make that one the new 2, and then go back to the original number.
Say that again?
All right. Okay, so section 2 will be,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
My notes. So the requirement stating that until the following applicable fees and charges have been paid in full, no action of any type or kind shall be taken on a petition, appeal, or application shall be waived. Within 60 days, a $1,000 fee will be paid for each application. Applications 1, 2, or 3. 4 remains the same. 5, it states that these provisions only apply to these, and then the rest of the part. That's the only change. These provisions only apply.
Shirley, you have anything to say at this time?
I will.
So you give me a motion?
As amended.
Okay.
As amended. With the stated amendments.
Okay.
With the stated amendments.
I'm going to give a motion.
No.
Oh, no, we just gotta make a motion. Okay.
The stated amendments.
I move that we accept motion 2025 with the, resolution 2025 with the approved amendment for resolution 713 for rezoning of 2025-01, resolution 2025-01, resolution 2025-02, and resolution 2025-03.
One correction, sorry. For the title, instead of where it says waiving the requirements, let's call that amending. And that said amendments.
Okay, amending requirements.
Amending the requirements. And then later on, that said amendments.
I second, motion.
Okay, it has been motion and second that the amending requirements resolutions 07-13 for RZ 2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Amendment?
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh,
I'm gonna make one statement as well. I'm gonna give it all of your cities, and get a synopsis of all small cities and the general area of what the fee schedule is, and we'll have something to work with. Changing our resolution.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn this town council meeting.
I second motion.
we have a motion and second that we adjourn this town council meeting.
You got call it time. 6:55.
6:55. We have a 5-minute break period. Meeting come to order. Roll call. Councilman Roger Gamsby. Present. Vice Mayor Nicole Williams.
President.
Councilwoman Cheryl McCall. Present. Councilwoman Shirley Aldrich.
Shirley.
Might be on you.
She might have been at the other meeting was adjourned.
Oh.
You wanna call her back? You said one of these for each person I talked to per plot?
One for each application, just put up some information.
She might be taking her injection.
And, Mayor Brown is here. Let's note that, Shirley Aldridge is absent at this time. You might know about it. The next one, additional and deletion and amendment, do we have anything to add or delete? Anything? Can I get a motion? Oh, did I have anything? Okay, the next thing on the agenda, the next item on the citizen from the floor.
If you're, these are for the applications.
These applications here. Read them some.
So if you're here to talk about the applications, you'll get a chance to talk during the quasi-judicial process. So only come up right now if you have something else you're gonna ask about.
What is this about? This one?
This is just our standard citizens from the floor line item in our agenda, so
Is it about the zoning?
No, not yet.
not yet. If you want to talk about a specific application, we're gonna go through the whole process of what the quasi-judicial process is. You'll get a chance to come up and talk.
Okay,
You need to elect the chair and the vice chair.
Well, that's up to, they've got to vote.
that's what we at now. We're getting ready to election of the chairperson and the vice chairperson.
I would like to apply for chair.
Say it again?
I'm nominating myself for chair.
I second the nomination.
Any more nominees? Make a motion to close the nomination.
I move that we accept Mr. Gamsby as the chair for planning and zoning.
Sure. Can I have a second?
I thought she said.
Motion made.
Oh, I second it.
Okay, it has been motion and second that Mr. Robert Gamsby be the chair person for the planning and zoning. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, ayes have a motion carried. Okay, the next one, vice chairman.
Anybody know raise your hand or not?
Now, does the vice chair have any different things than the regular council?
Vice chair is kind of like the vice mayor if I'm ever absent and we're having a zoning board meeting and whoever the vice chair would be the presiding officer.
Okay, I'll second
I nominate Cheryl. Nicole.
And second.
Okay, it has been motion and second that Cheryl McCall will be the vice chairperson. In the discussion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposers? Ayes have a motion carried.
All right, I guess this is my my meeting going forward.
Yes, it is.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to subject you to my mumbling and my covering my face, but I'm trying not to. You have to give me the report card at the end. So our first business is PZB Resolution 25-01, an adoption of rules and regulations, page 12 through 23 of our packets. Basically, it outlines, it's a resolution of the Town of White Springs, Florida Planning and Zoning Board adopting regulations for the board, providing for conflict severability and effect.
Got a quick clarification. So the resolution should say rules and regulations, that's what's in there. And the early packet had rules and procedure, and I slightly changed the words to rules and regulations, since those were the terms that were used in the LDRs. So this had rules of procedure, and I changed it to rules and regulations.
Okay, that whole copy, that preamble.
So the preamble, adopting rules and regulations, rules is missing there. And then the title. In the original packet, it said rules of procedure, switch that to rules and regulations to match the LDR language.
So we're changing what was on page 14 of our packet.
So page 12 of our packet, we're adding the word rules.
Packet I gave you is correct. The big staple packet I gave you is correct.
The one on page 12 now? What is this, SB 2501?
Because this is a planning and zoning board resolution.
Do you have any motions?
I move that we adopt planning and zoning board resolution rules and regulations 2025-01.
Second motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 2025-01 for the planning and zoning board. Do we have any discussion? Bring it to a vote. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed say no. Ayes have it, 4-0.
Can I have a question? I was stuck with voting. We're supposed to have 7 people.
Yes, in an ideal world, we would have 2 alternates.
Say that again.
2 alternates. It's 5 members with 2 alternates.
And the board member, school board member.
School board member when dealing with density issues.
So we still have to.
A non-voting school board member.
So we still have to get 2 alternates for this?
Alternates are only needed when the current board members aren't available.
So as long as we've got a quorum, we're okay?
You have a quorum.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Moving on to item 7. Actually, that should be done later. That should be number 2, the quasi-judicial process. All right, so we're going to skip number 7 because that should be coming up in quasi-judicial public hearings. We have no old business. So we are going to move to the quasi-judicial process. I wrote a script, so I apologize. I will be reading it for the next 3 hours. Today's agenda includes a quasi-judicial hearing on the 3 rezoning applications found under new business. RZ 2025-01, application by Michael Hutchinson and Annette Hutchinson to rezone parcel 8077-000 from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family / mobile home 1 related to ordinance 2025-1. B, RZ 2025-2, application by Michael Hutchinson and Annette Hutchinson to rezone parcel 8076-000 from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family / mobile home -1 related to ordinance 2025-2. R and C, RZ 2025-3, application by Cynethia Williams and Don Shea Brown to rezone parcel 8259-000 from residential single family to residential single family / mobile home 2 related to ordinance 2025-03. Can our town attorney please run through the procedures for the hearings and inquire of the members of the planning and zoning board regarding any ex parte communications?
All right, this is a quasi-judicial hearing. The board is examining facts and evidence and applying existing laws and codes like a judge in a civil or criminal case. Therefore, any ex parte communications must be disclosed. An ex parte communication occurs when a party to an application or someone involved with a party talks or writes to or otherwise communicates directly with a board member about the issues involved with the application without the public present. A process has been established to disclose ex parte communications with such board members. When this procedure is allowed, the presumption of prejudice is removed. At this time, all board members must publicly disclose any and all ex parte communications they have had and complete the disclosure form.
So, why do you do so?
Each one should mention their ex parte communications.
Cheryl,
This is just for the 1 and 2?
this is for all of them.
All three?
1, 2, and 3.
I thought we had separate hearings.
Well, they are, but so once we get past ex parte communications and once we get past swearing in the witnesses, we then will branch off. The first application, go through the process, second, third.
I have ex parte from Annette, about her sewer line, just that I communicated with Mr. Garner to find out whether she could hook up or not. And then, as far as, with, the other lot, it was with, I talked to Scott, the Brazils, and Patrick, the attorney, and I was given ordinances and statutes and stuff like that concerning what the legalities are on it.
Okay. Did the communication influence her decision making?
As far as understanding the laws, yes, because I didn't understand the laws before, but as far as my personal opinion, without the laws, no.
Nicole?
I received an email from an attorney, Patrick something or another. I did not respond to the email because him being an attorney, I felt that he needed to speak to our attorney and not me, and not to overstep my boundaries as a council member.
Yes, I talked with Patrick K. And he sent me an email and I was reading the email and I didn't know that he was an attorney until I called him. But we was discussing mobile home 2 and to me I was like, hey, it's there. You know, and
You have to give your opinion on this, on what the subject matter.
yeah. But no, it doesn't change my.
So today I talked to Patrick Chowski on the phone. He expressed his desire to see the zoning changes for parcel 8259 rejected, or at a minimum to see the zoning process delayed until the applicants pay the appropriate fees for ordinance 0701. Discussed previous administration zoning process appeals in current town council. The discussion influenced my stance on whether or not we should slow down the speed of the process, but did not influence my opinion on the appropriateness of the requested change. From 5/25 through today, I received a number of email communications from Patrick Wachowski, mostly objecting to the mobile home on parcel 8259. I printed the emails and included with my form. And during a meeting of the comprehensive planning committee on 7/10, Thomas Brazil expressed an opinion that he did not like mobile homes going on here. That did not influence my opinion. Thank you, Leslie. While the Planning and Zoning Board welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in this proceeding, please note Florida law requires that only competent, substantial, fact-based testimony or evidence will be considered by the board in deciding the quasi-judicial matters. Pure speculation or opinion, not based on competent facts, cannot be legally considered by the board in weighing the appropriateness of the application. If you intend to comment or to provide evidence and testimony, please keep this in mind. Finally, before addressing the board, and in order to keep the public record accurate, you complete a speaker form and state your name, state your address, and whether or not you have been sworn in when you approach the podium to speak on the quasi-judicial matter. Please note that we will not permit comments or questions from the floor while not recognized by the chair during the recognized testimony. Since this is a quasi-judicial process, all testimony must be given under oath. Will anyone who intends to offer testimony during this hearing please stand and be sworn in? No.
I have a question. Can you not give opinions?
You can, but we can't say everybody hates it, so we're gonna say no. Like, we can't make opinion-based decisions.
I'm gonna get sworn in.
Okay, everybody raise your right
I
hand.
think the applicants have this.
Yes, Cynethia, applicant.
I have to stand.
Yes. All right. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Board members, you have before you proposed rezoning application RZ 2025-01, filed as ordinance 2501. An ordinance rezoning approximately 0.87 acres on parcel 8077-00, located adjacent to 10351 Deer Run, owned by Michael Hutchinson and N.G. Hutchinson, as described herein, from commercial neighborhood to residential single-family mobile home, as defined and classified under the zoning code, pursuant to the land development regulations as amended, providing a disclaimer that the rezoning granted herein shall not be construed as an example from any other technical.
Providing an effective date. I think we got it off of there.
It did get cut off in my thing.
Effective date.
Providing an effective date. So this should be the staff presentation. Mr. Garrett, can you please present the staff analysis of the application for parcel 8077000 and proposed ordinance 2025-01?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Lowell Garrett. I'm a staff member of EA Consultants, who are consultants to the town council for planning purposes. You have in your packet the planning and zoning staff report, which I'll be referring to. And I think the chairman has already described the location and the application fully. I would like, with your permission, to combine this response for both parcels. In other words, the response, staff response would be for both parcels. That's satisfactory.
So I mean, there is a world where somebody might object to letting
can get back up and.
They're adjacent to one another. The only difference is mobile home one and the other's vacant. But there is absolutely no impact analysis that makes it any different. So it should, I just want to make sure you're comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay. I'd also like to enter the staff report into the record, please, so you'll have it will be considered. What I'd like to do, Mr. Chair and board members, is to basically go down the findings that are required to be considered for a rezoning amendment. The first item is whether the proposed change would be in conformance with the town's comprehensive plan and would have an adverse effect on the town's comprehensive plan. Now, the proposed zoning is consistent with the residential moderate density future land use designation as it has been adopted in the town's comprehensive plan. Now, this supports a proposal of RSF NH1 zoning, which is based on density and permitted uses identified in future land use element. Now, comprehensive plan policy 112 states that the town should permit residential uses, including mobile homes. The proposed zoning permits residential uses, including single-family homes and mobile homes, and therefore will implement the intent of this policy. So policy 112 in the code and the comprehensive plan actually includes mobile homes as a residential use. The proposed zoning requires a minimum lot area of 20,000 square feet. And of course, we're talking about a density of 2 units per acre. So this is far exceeding that requirement. Closer to each lot is closer to 1 acre. Rezoning furthers housing diversity goals in the plan and is not expected to negatively impact the overall plan implementation. Now, future land use element, policy 112, I just referred to, objective 3.3, which is the housing element. The town shall make available the provision of certain opportunities for low and moderate income housing and mobile homes in conformance with the future land use element. As far as the existing land use pattern, this is another finding. The surrounding neighborhood is primarily residential with a mix of single-family homes and mobile homes. Multiple mobile homes exist nearby, including 2 immediately east of the subject property, indicating an established pattern of mixed housing types within the same comprehensive plan future land use category. The proposed zoning will allow this mix of single-family and mobile home residential types that is consistent in form, scale, and density with the existing development pattern. The next finding is any possible creation of an isolated district unrelated to adjacent or nearby districts. This change will not create an isolated or incompatible zoning district. While no RSF and H1 zonings exist immediately on immediately adjacent parcels, the proposal does not constitute illegal or arbitrary spot zoning. The RSF and H1 district permits similar mixed residential use types that are presently found in the immediate area, and the rezoning is in harmony with the surrounding residential development. The proposed zoning is supported by the residential moderate density future land use designation, addresses a housing need, and is consistent with the existing development patterns in the vicinity. I'd just like to point out that the CN classification, zoning classification that is currently enforced on these 2 parcels is a classification that is established based on needs. Commercial neighborhood zoning allows commercial to be located pretty much where it's needed without going through the comprehensive plan. So this site is more appropriate for residential because it is a residential feature land use as moderate density. The population density pattern and possible increase or overtaxing of the land on public facilities such as schools, utilities, streets, and et cetera. The rezoning will not increase the permitted residential density. Obviously, there's already one unit there now. No increase in density is proposed. Two parcels will remain limited to one single residential unit each and will not result in overtaxing any of the utilities, the schools, streets, or other public services. The next finding is whether existing district boundaries are logically drawn in relation to existing conditions on the property proposed for change. Now, the current zoning boundaries are not illogical currently. However, the request responds to evolving housing needs and allows an otherwise compatible housing type in a location already designated for residential moderate density development in the comprehensive plan. Although the RSF MH1 district is not present on adjacent properties, the use remains residential in nature and logically consistent with the surrounding development in terms of density, form, and use. The next finding is whether change or changing conditions make the passage of the proposed amendment necessary. The comprehensive plan supports a range of housing types, including mobile homes, to serve all income levels and ages. Overall economic and demographic trends suggest an increasing demand for affordable and flexible housing alternatives. This rezoning reflects the broader housing trends and provides means to accommodate the following community housing needs. The next finding is whether or not the proposed change will adversely influence living conditions in the neighborhood. The use of the property will remain residential in nature as it is now. Mobile homes on individual lots are already present in the vicinity, and the proposed rezoning is not expected to have a negative effect on the neighborhood living conditions. The next finding is whether the proposed change will create or excessively increase traffic congestion or otherwise affect public safety. Staff finds that no increased traffic or public safety impacts are anticipated. The rezoning will not increase the permitted residential density, which is established in the comprehensive plan. The two parcels will remain limited to one single residential unit each, and as such, will not generate any additional traffic as compared to the existing zoning district, which is commercial neighborhood. Whether or not the proposed change will create a drainage problem. The rezoning should not result in an increase of impervious area and associated stormwater runoff. In addition, no known drainage pattern problems exist and none are anticipated as a result of the rezoning. The next finding is whether the proposed change will seriously reduce light and air to adjacent areas. The change in zoning will not reduce light or air access to the adjacent properties. The RSF MH1 zoning district maintains the existing residential character of the area and is actually more compatible than the existing commercial zoning, commercial neighborhood zoning classification. The next finding is whether the proposed change will adversely affect property values in the adjacent area. There's no negative effect on the adjacent property values that is expected. Mobile homes are already established in the area and coexist with site-built homes without no decline in property conditions. Item number 12, finding whether the proposed change will be a deterrent to the improvement or development of adjacent property in accord with the existing regulations. The proposed zoning will not deter or the continued development or improvement of the surrounding properties. The property will allow residential uses which are compatible with the land use pattern of the area. The next finding is whether the proposed change will constitute a grant of special privilege to an individual owner as contrasted with public welfare. The response is the rezoning is not a grant of special privilege. It aligns with the comprehensive plan future land use designation of the property and will not affect the public welfare. The next finding is whether or not there are substantial reasons why the property cannot be used in accordance with the existing zone. The current commercial neighborhood is inconsistent with the underlying residential moderate density future land use designation. The development activity on the property is not permitted within these conflicting land use and zoning designations. The rezoning will create compatible land use and zoning district designations for the two parcels. There's just two more. The next is whether the change suggested is out of scale with the need of the neighborhood or town. The change is modest in scope and is not out of scale with the needs of the town. It allows a permitted use, one residential unit on two established residential parcels each in an area that already includes similar housing types and is designated for residential development in the comprehensive plan. And then finally, whether it is impossible to find other adequate sites in the town to propose uses in districts already permitting such use. Now, while there's other RSFNH1 parcels may exist elsewhere in the town, this parcel is suitable due to location, infrastructure, and compatibility with the surrounding development, requiring the relocation to another property would place an unnecessary burden on the applicant without a clear public benefit. And that concludes the staff review of the required findings.
Do any of the board members have questions for Mr. Garrett? Cheryl?
Looking at number 5, do they have to change out of the zoning area in order to put a mobile home in on the other lot? Or can they put another home in the other lot without going through all this?
No, they have to go through the rezoning. Right now, the property is zoned commercial. So they have to change that zoning district to RSFNH1.
Even though the home they currently
The
live
one
in,
that's there is there.
does it have to be changed?
No, well, yes, in the sense that it's there, but for it to be conforming to the regulation, it needs to be changed. And I'll tell you why, because if it wasn't changed, there may be disputed later relative to any expansion or change of the structure on the site. So it should be consistent, even though it's already there, with the zoning district.
Right, so I was hoping to save you some money. Sorry, never mind.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions from the board? I have a question. Would they be able to put any house there, or are they forbidden from putting residential?
Any house, any residential unit. This is a mixed-use category. So they can put conventional, they can put modular, or they can put residence.
No, I mean in the current designation.
In the current designation, does not allow residential use.
Thank you. We will now hear the applicant.
One question, I need to clarify, not clarify, but would that be a non-conforming use? If you had a storm or something come by and destroyed it, you cannot be replaced until all this was done anyhow, right?
Well, that's a possibility, but there is a provision in the supplementary regulations that allows for a switch out or a mobile home, so to speak, within a specific time period. But, you know, it's one of those things where if you're doing additions or anything of that nature, it becomes problematic.
I our form, number 17 says the availability of alternate sites. I mean, you said they're available, so do we answer yes or no?
Well, I mean, obviously they're available, but I think it would be an undue burden in this particular case to have him relocate his home on another site.
Okay, so good enough.
Yeah. But there are other locations, obviously.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
We will now hear the applicant's presentation if they desire to do so.
This is a summary if anybody would like a copy of it. Anybody?
Council, you have an incredibly tough job, and I am sorry you inherited a mess. But good evening, Council and Planning Committee. Thank you for your time and service to the town of White Springs. My name is Annette Hutchinson, and this is my husband, Michael Hutchinson, and we're here today to respectfully request the rezoning of two parcels that we own. 10351 Deer Run and the adjacent vacant lot parcel number 8077000. These parcels are unique and deserving rezoning consideration. They are currently zoned commercial neighborhood, but as you will see, this designation does not reflect the land's actual use, character, or physical access. Our goal is simple: to rezone these parcels to single-family residential mobile home use. One lot already has a well-maintained mobile home, and the other is a mostly cleared, graded, and prepped parcel we hope to place a similar home on. We have carefully addressed each of the 16 factors in Article 16 of the Land Development Regulations. What follows is a detailed breakdown, and you have a summary for reference. Factor 1, plan consistency. Rezoning these two parcels to single-family residential mobile home use is consistent with the town's overall goals of controlled growth, increased housing options, and preserving neighborhood character. While the zoning map may currently list the area as commercial neighborhood, the physical conditions of the property, including lack of street access, make commercial development impractical. And you have a map for your reference.
That's not here.
The surrounding
We
area.
put it all in your packet.
The surrounding area is primarily residential. Our properties are nestled among these homes and have always functioned as part of a quiet residential street. Allowing additional mobile homes here aligns better with the way the land is actually used and maintained. In the short term, our goal is to support White Springs' tourism initiative by offering a short-term rental. In the long term, this home would be used, this home would house one of my elderly parents, both disabled and in need of accessible, independent living close to family care. There are no other residential lots in town that meet their needs while keeping them nearby. Rezoning these lots corrects a mapping issue and allows for modest, thoughtful development that fits both the land and the community, adding tax base, increasing housing supply, and preserving the neighborhood character. Factor 2, existing land use pattern. Both parcels are located in an area that has always functioned as a residential neighborhood. The surrounding homes on Collins Street and Robert Streets were all built between the 1960s and 1970s, and most are site-built single-family homes. There is also at least one mobile home on Collins Street built and placed in 1965. No neighboring properties are used for commercial purposes. The only exception in the area is City Hall, located on Bridge Street. The nearest business is a gas station on Highway 41, which lies beyond the creek that borders our parcels and on the other side of the church, creating a natural separation from any commercial corridor. The property on 10351 Deer Run has a mobile home that was placed in 1996, 2 years before the current zoning map was created. It appears that this was disregarded and a straight line was simply drawn, not considering the surrounding area, the creek, or the lack of commercial access to the properties. 10351 Deer Run, in addition to the home, includes a 2-car garage, a carport, a privacy fence, and landscaping. It is not visible from Collins Street or Highway 41, and there are no signs or features that would make it appear commercial. The adjacent lot has been improved with grading and grass and is mowed and maintained as a residential yard. These lots fit the character of the neighborhood. quiet, wooded, and residential. Rezoning them to single-family residential mobile home use would not change the look or feel of the area. It would simply bring the zoning in line with how the land is already being used and maintained. The current zoning is out of sync with the reality on the ground. Factor 3, isolated district. Rezoning these two parcels would not create an isolated or incompatible zoning district, it would correct one. Both lots are side by side under our ownership and surrounded by residentially zoned properties on Collins and Robert Streets. Ours are the only parcels in the area zone commercial neighborhood, which appears to be the result of a mapping error during the 1998 update. These lots are accessible only by a one-lane dirt easement and bordered by a creek with no direct connection to any main road. Commercial development isn't just unsuitable here, it's almost physically impossible. One other residential home in the commercial zone is nearby, but unlike ours, it has proper road access to Jefferson Street. This situation is uniquely constrained. The lack of access, natural barriers, and surrounding residential use make our request very specific and unlikely to set a precedent. We're not establishing a new pattern, we're fixing an anomaly. Rezoning would bring these parcels into alignment with the rest of the neighborhood and reflect how the land has always been used, quietly and residentially. Factor 4, public facilities and services. Approving this rezoning would not place any burden on the town services or infrastructure. Both parcels are either connected to city water or will be connected to city water. Further, we've confirmed with the county health department and the city's that septic is allowed on the vacant lot, and we've had a perk test approved for a septic system. Electricity, trash pickup, and other basic utilities are already established at 10351 Deer Run and can easily be extended to the adjacent lot. The proposed use of the second lot for short-term guests or eventually one elderly family member would not add strain to school enrollment or create any spike in service demands. In short, this is a low-density, low-impact use that the town's infrastructure is already more than capable of supporting. Factor 5, district boundaries. The current zoning boundary in this area doesn't follow any natural features or land use patterns. It looks like it was drawn in 1998 using a straight line behind the homes that face Collins Street without really considering the parcels it affected. In our case, it resulted in our property, 10351 Deer Run, and the adjacent lot being zoned commercial neighborhood, even though they've always been residential in function and appearance. There are no real roads leading to these two parcels, and there's no practical access to Highway 41 because of the creek. That makes the idea of future commercial development here extremely unlikely. The current zoning doesn't split any parcels, but it does create a mismatch between how the land is zoned and how it is used. This suggests it was more of a mapping shortcut to make a perfect triangle on a map rather than a thoughtful planning decision. Factor 6, changed or changing conditions. One of the main reasons we're requesting this rezoning is because we relied directly on the town's own statement in 2022 that this property was zoned for single-family residential use. The mortgage company's appraiser called the town clerk at the time, not anybody that's in this room, but we know, at that time and was told that the zoning was residential. That confirmation was documented in the appraisal, which I've included as an exhibit in your packet. Without that statement, we would not have qualified for a mortgage or insurance, and honestly, we would not have bought the property at all. And here's where I'm going to go off the script a little bit and request that we only have to pay one of those fees because we were told that it was residential to begin with. Since then, we've made significant improvements to the home under the belief that it was residentially zoned. A new roof, new tie-downs, new skirting, porch construction, appliances, replaced the plumbing, new drain field, new AC, and interior renovations. We've made a substantial financial investment into the property to make it a safe and livable home with the understanding that this was a residential property. On top of that, there is now a new town council that is actively discussing zoning reform. They've recognized that some of the boundaries on the zoning map don't reflect the way these properties are actually used. We see this rezoning not as a new use, but as an opportunity to correct a mapping error based on our good faith reliance on the town's own guidance. Factor 7, living conditions. Rezoning these two parcels to residential would have a positive impact on living conditions in our neighborhood. The area is already quiet and residential in nature, and our home at 10351 Deer Run is well maintained and landscaped. In fact, we've made several improvements that have enhanced the safety and appearance and value of the property, and we plan to do the same on the second lot. And you can see Exhibit 3 for the photos of both our property and the lot. There are a couple of nearby homes on Collins Street that are not being maintained, but our property stands in contrast with fresh landscaping, frequent mowing, and peaceful presence. Adding one more brand-new, well-kept home will only add to the stability and visual quality of the neighborhood. We've had no issues with our neighbors, and we're committed to keeping the peace. If the town or neighbors had concerns about landscaping, lighting, or screening, we'd be happy to work with them on solutions to make sure everything stays in line with the residential character of the area. This rezoning would support, not disrupt, the living conditions in our part of White Springs. Factor 8, traffic and public safety. Rezoning these two parcels to residential would help preserve traffic safety and maintain the peaceful use of the narrow single-lane dirt easement that serves only a few residents. This easement provides the sole access to both properties and is currently used by our household, one nearby neighbor, and the occasional delivery vehicle. We maintain this road ourselves and have considered improving it with road base or millings if the rezoning is approved. Visibility along the easement is clear, and there have been no reported accidents or emergency access issues. If a second home is allowed, it would result in only minimal additional traffic, typically one guest vehicle at a time or an occasional caregiver. Neither of my elderly parents, who the second home is intended for, drive, so this won't create ongoing congestion. However, keeping commercial neighborhood zoning in place poses a very real risk. The easement is not built for two-way traffic, let alone for customer vehicles, supply trucks, or vendor deliveries that a business might require. Forcing commercial use here would create safety concerns for the families who live along the road and would place an unreasonable burden on infrastructure never designed to support that kind of traffic. And you can see the photos of the road from both directions in Exhibit 4. Approving this rezoning ensures the access easement continues to be used safely and responsibly, as it has been for decades, while protecting neighbors from incompatible and potentially hazardous commercial development. Factor 9, drainage concerns. There are no drainage problems on our property or in the surrounding area. Both parcels sit on naturally high ground that drains efficiently into the creek behind us. Even during heavy rain, water flows away from the home quickly and naturally. We've done some light grading on the vacant lot to improve drainage even further, and the area has never experienced pooling, runoff issues, or flooding. The home we propose to place would also be located on high ground, well above the water level of the creek. We haven't needed to install any special drainage systems on our current home, and it has remained dry and stable through all seasons and recent hurricanes. To further support this, we've included a copy of the county's flood map as Exhibit 5, showing that where the home will be located is not in the flood zone. In short, rezoning these lots for residential use will not create any drainage problems, and the site is better suited for housing than many other parts of town due to its elevation and natural runoff. Factor 10, light and air impact. Rezoning these two parcels for residential use will not reduce light or air from any nearby properties. There's generous space between our lots and the neighboring homes, and the home we're proposing to place would be a single-story mobile home, just like our current one. It will sit on a block foundation slightly above ground level, not on any raised area, and won't block sunlight or airflow in any direction. The area is open and wooded with many tall trees that already provide natural shade and privacy between homes. We plan to leave as many of those trees as possible, which means the landscape will remain open, breezy, and in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. This proposed use will not change the natural environment around the property and will not cast shadows, block views, or interfere with ventilation for us or our neighbors. Factor 11, adjacent property values. Rezoning these two parcels for residential mobile home use would not reduce property values in the area. In fact, it's more likely to protect or increase them. Our home at 10351 Deer Run is the newest and most well-maintained property on the lot. We've invested in major upgrades and the different shows. While I'm not aware of any recent sales on our street, online estimates like Zillow suggest that our property value has gone up since we made improvements. Adding one more well-kept landscape mobile home on the adjacent lot would only enhance that. It would help stabilize this part of town by replacing a vacant, unused parcel with a move-in ready home that's maintained with the same level of care as our current one. A business, on the other hand, could do far more to hurt property values, especially if it generated extra traffic or didn't match the surrounding residential setting. We believe that continuing to improve and invest in this neighborhood through careful residential use is the best way to preserve and grow home values in White Springs. Factor 12, deterrent to adjacent development. Rezoning these parcels to residential would actually encourage improvement and investment, not discourage it. Since we moved in and started making upgrades to our property, at least one of our neighbors has followed suit by adding a new fence, paving their home, and starting to clean up their lot. That kind of momentum matters in a small town like ours. Unfortunately, the overall area still feels neglected, and zoning as it stands today only adds to that. The current commercial neighborhood designation has made it impossible for us to develop the second lot, and as long as it stays that way, it will remain a vacant patch of grass with no purpose. That doesn't help the neighborhood feel complete or well cared for. On the other hand, placing a second home there would give the area a finished look and continue the pattern of residential care and stability. It would also show that with the right zoning in place, private property owners like us are ready and willing to invest in White Springs. This rezoning would signal progress, not stagnation. Factor 13, granting special privilege. This rezoning request is not about getting special treatment. It's about correcting a zoning designation that doesn't match how the property has ever been used. We're not asking for an exception, variances, or any unique privileges. We're simply asking that these two parcels be rezoned to match the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood and the way the property has been maintained and occupied for years. If anyone else owned these lots, with a narrow dirt easement and an existing mobile home and no practical access for commercial use, they would be in the exact same position and making the exact same request. And I would absolutely support others in town who find themselves in that similar situation doing the same. This isn't just about helping our family, it's about helping the town. Rezoning would bring this part of the zoning map in line with how the land is actually used, support the town's goals of increasing tourism through short-term rentals, and generate more tax and utility revenue without adding any burden to services or infrastructure. This is not a special favor, it's a sensible fix. Factor 14, viability of current zoning. Under the current commercial neighborhood zoning, these parcels are essentially unusable. There is no realistic way to operate a business on this land. The only access is a one-lane dirt easement shared by a few homes, and there's no direct connection to Highway 41 due to a creek behind the properties. That makes it inaccessible for commercial traffic and completely unsuitable for any business use allowed under the town's commercial neighborhood zoning rules. We've looked into what's permitted in a commercial neighborhood zone, and none of the allowable uses make sense in this location. You can't run a storefront, host customers, or bring in deliveries safely on a dirt path behind residential homes. And we haven't spoken to a single person who thinks otherwise. This zoning has made the vacant lot and our home impossible to develop, lease, or sell. Should a disaster or fire destroy our home, it's unlikely we would be able to rebuild in the time frame required to remain grandfathered in. We also cannot sell the home without rezoning. These properties are a financial dead end, not just for us, but for the town as well, since it can't produce tax revenue or serve any practical purpose as long as it's zoned this way. Rezoning to residential mobile home use would make the property usable, contribute to the tax base, and allow a safe, stable use that fits the neighborhood. As it stands now, the current zoning makes no sense on paper or in practice. Factor 15, scale with the neighborhood needs. This rezoning request is modest and entirely in scale with the needs of both the neighborhood and the town of White Springs. We're not proposing a subdivision, business complex, or anything that would change the feel of the area, just one additional home on an already cleared, maintained lot next to our existing residence. The neighborhood isn't overcrowded or underbuilt, and adding one home won't change that. We're simply trying to improve a piece of unused land that's otherwise been sitting vacant due to outdated zoning. This is a small, reasonable request that helps meet real needs for housing, for tourism support, and for family care, while respecting the character and scale of the surrounding area. Factor 16, adequacy of other sites. There are no other sites in White Springs that would reasonably allow us to do what we're proposing here. We've looked, and there simply aren't any affordable properties for sale in town that offer the same potential for a mobile home, access to city water, privacy, and the proximity to our current residents. Additionally, White Springs doesn't have many available lots suitable for mobile homes, which are often more attainable for families like ours. We're not asking the town to make an exception, we're asking to be allowed to use land we already own in a way that fits the real conditions on the ground and the needs of our family and our community. This is the only place that works, and rezoning is the only path forward. In closing, we respectfully ask that you approve these rezoning requests. We are not seeking special treatment, only a fair and reasonable adjustment that reflects how the land is used, how the neighborhood functions, and what the town of White Springs really needs. This modest rezoning request supports housing, tourism, neighborhood stability, and corrects a zoning error we relied on in good faith. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for considering this request.
May I ask a question?
No, you'll have to participate. Did you fill out a form?
I didn't expect that there would be a situation where I would have a question.
You
Yeah.
fill one out and I'll ask.
Okay. All right.
Would you like to enter this into the
Yes,
as an exhibit?
yes.
This handout is being entered as an exhibit for the record. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant?
Like all my years of my life I've been there, I always thought it was a big meeting. Nobody did
Well, it isn't that end, it goes right to the creek.
I didn't even know it was a creek like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is that the one that's hard to get by for that church thing?
Yeah, we're the church, so it's the church here and the creek and then us.
Yeah, I know, there was two of them over there. They on that side of the church there.
May I ask a question now?
Sure.
So,
No. You have to finish. It's a very strict process.
Roger that.
Okay, are there any more questions from the board members?
No, not this moment, no.
Okay, the next step in this quasi-judicial hearing is the opportunity for public comment. The opportunity to cross-examine any witness will be provided to those who are legally deemed to be interested parties with standing. This is limited to those who either are making a procedural challenge or a substantive challenge, who can prove a special injury differing in kind rather than degree from the general community. So, we're going to read through the list. If you don't want to comment on either RZ202501 or RZ202502, just raise your hand and I'll read your hand. So you can,
yeah. I would like to, do I stand or can I do it right here? Or?
Any question, or?
I want to ask, I would like to ask them a question.
this would technically be a process. I don't know if it's called.
Oh, you got to swear.
Oh, you haven't sworn.
You haven't been sworn in?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yeah.
Please make sure to state your name and spell it, your street address.
Okay, my name is George Tuider, and that last name is spelled Tuider. My street address is 16511 Judith Street. That's here in White Springs. My question is it your initial intention to operate an Airbnb out of this location?
Initially, yes, because my parents have each other to take care of each other. My dad is blind and deaf, and my mom has multiple sclerosis, so he lifts her, she's his eyes and ears. So once one of them passes, which probably won't be very much longer, then I have to take them.
So initially, it will be a business, to run a business out of that operation, that location. Where I live right now, I had two Airbnbs next door to me. I had one immediately to the east and one immediately to the north. And the amount of traffic that comes and goes, and the fact that they're on vacation, they're not in the same kind of rhythm that people who live and work normal lives. They're on vacation, they party, they stay up at night, they are unloading, and packing, My dogs get used to the normal people now. There are permanent people who reside there. But for people who, if your neighbors have dogs, that each time a new person arrives, the kind of disturbance that would cause is impactful.
And we have plans to put up a fence for that reason.
Right, but the traffic that will increase, and sometimes it's many cars, so it's not like it's just a single one will come there. You could have a large group of people that come to the Airbnb, and suddenly
You also could have a bunch of nice people.
you could.
And we're right there.
And
all
we're right
the
there
time.
across the street.
I understand that.
I'm
This,
just giving you an example of what,
And it's not gonna be a
scenario.
big, and it's not gonna house 10 people. It's only gonna house.
but
max.
you would be amazed at what shows up the Airbnbs. My sister has even run one and had an enormous group come in and cause thousands of dollars of damage. So for the people who live next door to that, this is not a residence that becomes another residence. This is a business next to your house with people coming and going all the time. It really is impactful. I've lived next to two of them for a period of time. Consider that, please. Thank you.
All right, Judith McClure, would you like to speak on?
Can I just stand here?
Well, this is only for RZ 22501 to 20. So for them.
It's only for what?
It's only for the Hutchinsons right now. Would you like to
Yes.
speak?
I would just like to say that
Please state your name and spell.
Judith McClure,
Right.
16630 School Street. Where is that page? I totally support them being able to rezone this, and I greatly admire them for going through the proper channels. They didn't just go and put the mobile home up, clear the land and put it on. They went through all of the proper channels to do this, and I greatly admire them for that.
We'll have a chance later to talk to you. Thomas Brazil, would you like to make a comment?
Thomas Brazil, property owner, 16504 College Street. A lot to talk about the vacant lot, it butts to my property. They joined. I've studied many Airbnbs. What they're talking about doing temporarily with this Airbnb, they're going to be owner occupants, basically. They're across the street. They're not going to rent the games of high school kids or spring break. It's going to be a very confined thing. The street to access this property, and I'm not very familiar with it, is basically a half a lane wide dirt track that goes back in there. If you didn't know that house was back there, you would not see it, you would not know it's there. An additional home back there, I don't think it's going to make any difference at all other than improving the quality of the neighborhood, especially when you have to take care of the older parents. But it's a very quiet neighborhood. That property is very secluded, and I have no objection in doing this.
Vivian Williamson? Scott Gay?
I have no comments.
Paul Brennan?
Brendan Stahl,
Brennan Stahl.
no comment about this one coming up in this future on the last one.
Kathleen Brennan? This is Kathleen. Brewer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't get the last one. That is all comments that I have. That's not on my list. Anybody? The board ask questions? Okay, so actually it's applicants. Do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
I think
She's the
I think
middle.
we took enough of people's time here.
Do board members have any additional questions for the applicant?
I have one. How long have you been here?
We've been here since 2021.
Cheryl?
I just wanted to address George's comment in that knowing that you're gonna be right there at the property, I don't think that they'll have the problems that you had with your other neighbors. I'm right next door to the bed and breakfast, and Judith keeps a tight rein on what goes on there. And I haven't had any problems or concerns with, and she has a lot of guests. but they're really, unless they take their dog out walking down the street, he barks, but he barks at everybody that walks down the street. So I don't think the concern that you have would be, the same that would be affecting this family.
And I don't think you have an invalid point, but I do feel like being right across from it will make all the difference in the world. Like, I'm not letting somebody run
Have a party.
my property.
I understand that. The owner of the other ones lived in Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee, and so, you know.
I get that.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
Mr. Garrett, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
Oh, I think I've made the presentation.
Do the board members have any additional questions for Mr. Garrett? We have concluded the public portion of the hearing for rezoning applications RZ 2025-01 and RZ 2025-02 and ordinance 2501 and ordinance 2502. Board members, you have heard the evidence presented at this hearing along with the findings of staff. Is there a motion for consideration?
Make a motion for consideration. Second.
Here's the motion.
You approve or deny?
Move.
You make a motion to approve? Is there a second to the motion to approve?
Second.
It has been motioned and seconded that we approve resolutions, ordinances 2501 and ordinance 2502. Is there any discussion?
None.
I have none. All right. It has been motioned and seconded. Let's bring it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Ayes have it, 4-0. And you may be excused.
So this is just to consider it, and then we come back in 2 weeks and do this again, correct? Okay. Just want to make
This
sure.
is the first reading.
I got you. Thank you.
Board members, you have your recommendation forms. Send over.
Fill out all.
Yes.
You have to sign that. Here's a fourth petition. Okay.
Do we need to sign this or just?
Sign it, please. We're just getting clarification. We're gonna make sure that we read the second application ordinance so that it has been properly read for its first reading. And then we'll have Mr. Garrett confirm that the information that he's provided applies to that application. The applicants can do the same, see if there's any additional public comment, and then do a motion, just to make sure we've got it all covered. Does that sound good?
Yep. Is everybody handed in that time?
Yeah.
Very boring.
Don't laugh at my signature.
You want to see Roberts?
Mine look a window. Not much. If I did too, then I don't know about the rock. I didn't even look in the rest of it. Right, pass that up.
For additional.
No, I need me to sign it in the correct spot. So that's, I didn't even know anything. I didn't even look in the back of that one.
So last time? For
That's for the next one.
Do we have to vote on those two things separately? Good? Board members, you have before you proposed rezoning application RZ 2025-02, filed as ordinance 2502. An ordinance rezoning approximately 1.37 acres on parcel 8076-000, located at 10351 Deer Run, owned by Michael Hutchinson and Eugene Hutchinson, as described herein, from commercial neighborhood CN to residential mixed single-family mobile home, RSF/MH-1, as defined and classified under the zoning code pursuant to the land development regulations as amended, providing a disclaimer that the rezoning granted herein shall not be construed as an exemption from any other applicable laws, providing an effective date. Mr. Garrett, did you plan on presenting the same information you presented in the first
I'd
time?
like to enter the staff report in the record that it supports that finding, that ordinance.
Mr. Garrett has entered into the record his staff report for ordinance 2025-02. Do any of the board members have questions for Mr. Garrett? No? We will now hear the applicant's presentation if they desire to do so. Would you like to enter in your handout also for this?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
We enter the handout for the record. Do any board members have questions for the applicant?
No. I did both of them on one.
Me too. The next step in this quasi-judicial hearing is the opportunity for public comment. The opportunity to cross-examine any witness will be provided to those who are legally deemed to be interested parties withstanding. This is limited to those who either are making a procedural challenge or a substantive challenge who can prove a special injury differing in kind rather than degree from the general community. Does anybody want to give a comment on this?
Can I make a statement here?
Not if, you can, or you can, the statement and evidence that you entered for the prior application will be entered on for this one.
We can use the conclusion as a time to it.
So I should have spoken a minute ago. Okay.
If he wants to, he can, because there's something different.
I'll bring it up at the second point.
Are there any comments? Applicant, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
Yes, I would. She addressed this just now in her presentation, and it was the fact that we're getting charged for 2 separate fees for this. However, the evidence that we presented showed that the zoning, according to our appraiser at the time, was told that that was already zoned residential. So I kind of feel like I'm getting penalized for something that the appraiser was told, submitted it in his form, submitted it to our mortgage company. Everybody thinks we're on the same page and it's residential. And now we're being forced to pay another $1,000 to call it, call it this again. So I would just like to know if that is something that could be considered, with our fees. If you guys would like some time to discuss it or think about it. I don't even need to know now. I just kind of feel like I'm getting whacked for something that, that I have to unfairly come into this hearing for on the particular property that has the existing loan.
Could this be considered good faith?
So that would be outside of the scope of this process.
Okay.
This is specifically basically a court hearing for these requests that are presented to us.
All right, fair
To be
enough.
even more honest, I don't know what sort of redress.
I'm just bringing it out into the atmosphere. I'll bring it up again. I'll figure out the right time to bring it up. But I'm just putting it out there that I would like to have that discussion. And I'll figure out when to have the discussion.
Okay. Noted. Do the board members have additional questions for the applicant?
None.
Mr. Garrett, do you have any rebuttal evidence to submit, or would you like to make a closing statement?
No.
Do the board members have any additional questions for Mr. Garrett?
No.
We have concluded the public portion of the hearing for rezoning application RZ 2025-02 and ordinance 2502. Board members, you have heard the evidence presented at this hearing along with the findings of staff. Is there a motion for consideration?
Make a motion to approve.
There's been motion that we approve ordinance 2502. Is there a second?
Second motion.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
Let's take it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The ayes have it, 4-0. Do you want to fill out the form? All right, we will be taking a 5-minute recess. The time is 8:18.
You got a sign something, or just stabbing, making faces at them?
Call to order. Then rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, as I come today, Lord, I want to thank you for your blessings and your holy promise. Lord, thank you for our community coming together and coming out. Lord, thank you for letting us see another day. And Lord, as we go to this agenda, Lord, please open our hearts and minds and spiritual eyes and let us make good decisions. As I pray in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pray allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Councilman Robert Gamsby. Present. Vice Mayor Nicole Williams. Present. Councilwoman Cheryl McCall. Present. Councilwoman Shirley Aldridge. And Mayor Brown is here. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is additional deletion and amendments. Do we have anything to add to the agenda? Or anything to delete? Next item on the floor, next thing on the agenda is citizens from the floor. 5 minutes, please. on. New business. A, resolution 25-13, appointing land development regulations, administrator, and administrative authority. Pages 3 and 4.
A resolution of the town council of the town of White Springs, Florida, designating the town manager as the town's land development regulation administrator and the administrative authority, providing conflicts, severability, and effective date.
I move that we adopt resolution 2513, appointing land development regulation administrator and administrative authority.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 25-13. Any discussion? Yes.
This basically states that the town manager will be this person.
Yes. Any more discussion?
So our LDRs define the land development regulation administrator as the person assigned by the council to the role of land development regulation administrator. So what this resolution does is we formally appoint, in this case we, as our land development regulation administrator.
So he's in charge of interpreting the LDRs for us.
He's the chairman of the committee. This is establishing the committee and appointing him as the chairperson of the committee.
So this assigns anything in our LDRs that are the responsibility of either the office of the land development regulation administrator or directly of the land development regulation administrator to lead.
So what will his duties be as this person?
Site planning, permitting.
And will he have
There's
to-
like 240 offices in our LDRs.
And will he have to give it to us, or will he just do what needs to be done?
For the most, so if it's something that he can do that doesn't require the town council, he needs to do it on his own.
Most of the things are always pre-approved, probably, that I want to look at. If there's anything that you questionable about, there's come to you all of the attorney for advice.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. We got Cheryl. The next one is, resolution 25-14, appointing of local planning agency and planning and zoning.
This is preamble, Town of White Springs, Florida, Town Council Resolution number 2025-14. A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of White Springs, Florida, designating itself as a local planning agency pursuant to section 16.31741, Florida statute, designating members of the Town Council to perform the functions of the Planning and Zoning Board pursuant to Article 3 of the Land Development Regulations as amended, providing for school board representation, establishing duties, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Council, what's your pleasure?
I move that we accept resolution 2025-14, designating the town council as the planning and zoning agency.
I second the motion.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we, approve resolution 25-14. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion?
Oh, wait.
I'm sorry, any discussion first?
Are we going to be working with the comprehensive committee too, to understand what questions we're going to be answering, or?
No. So the comprehensive plan committee exists right now to bring our comprehensive plan into alignment with the requirements of the state. That is kind of a subsection of what the planning agency does, which will assign themselves as this small-scale amendments to the comprehensive plan, citizen-initiated amendments to the comprehensive plan, that has nothing to do with the plan, the comprehensive plan.
What we're doing tonight has nothing to do with the comprehensive plan?
No, nothing to do with the committee. So what we're doing tonight has nothing to do with the operations of the comprehensive plan committee.
Okay.
That exists specifically just for getting the comprehensive plan into alignment with the process established by the state.
Okay,
To
so
make amendments to the comprehensive.
if we all become the planning and zoning committee, are we supposed to understand the LDRs?
So for this exercise, we're only supposed to consider the evidence that's presented to us.
No, I don't mean the hearing tonight. I mean this committee, the thing that we're voting that we're gonna do. What are we gonna do?
So
As that
are we
committee?
going to be permanent zoning board, is that what you're asking?
What will we be responsible for doing if this makes us that committee
Tonight?
in general?
So I think she's asking, are we basically conferring permanently all the powers of the zoning board for ourselves? And I know we're doing it.
I wanna know what my responsibilities are gonna be if we vote this in as a council person. I don't just say, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. Yeah, I do, but that's not me in this case.
Very relatable.
Ensuring that the things are brought to you facts and have been reviewed with you, planners or engineer, whatever, who will have to do that before we bring something to you, at least you have been briefed from it. And as we have said, maybe workshop throughout, have workshops and bring to you something that's going to come before you at future council meetings. So you get time to look at it, deliberate it, ask questions, and get responses.
Like this, the performing tonight is gonna be over what we're doing later at the hearing.
You're designating yourself as the local planning agency and the planning and zoning board. The planning and zoning board will then meet after this meeting to hear to do the public hearings on the 3 applications.
Okay. So we've got a lot of responsibility if this goes through.
That's for, this could be a temporary designation, this may not be a permanent designation.
Okay.
That's something that you guys can determine long-term, but for purposes of what we need to accomplish today and in 2 weeks, the council is designating itself as the planning and zoning board.
So what's the difference between today and 2 weeks?
Today, the planning and zoning board hears the applications, and in 2 weeks, the town council hears the applications. Today, the planning and zoning board makes recommendations.
To ourselves?
Yes, and then in 2 weeks, you make the determination. The land development regulations allow for the town council to designate itself as the planning and zoning board.
So after today's hearings, and I'm sorry, but I just, this to me is a lot of responsibility and I want to get it straight. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to hear everything. Are we going to make any decisions on anything or are we just going to advise ourselves next week on what we heard tonight?
You're going to make recommendation at the end of each hearing. And then in 2 weeks, will be another public hearing where people can still come before you. It may be new information, it may be different information, it may be information that doesn't necessarily support the last decision. So it'll be, these are 2 hearings. You're sitting and you're doing both, but you're doing them with different hats on and different responsibilities. Today, recommendation, 2 weeks, decision.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry.
That's it.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carried, ayes have it. Okay, the next one on the list. Resolution 25-15, waiving requirements of resolutions 07-13 for
2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03, pages 7 through 11.
So, up until approximately Thursday, we were not aware that the town had a schedule of fees charged for applications, such as the applications that we have before us today. That was the first time that we had heard that they existed, and then we didn't see them, I didn't see them until Friday. They are from 2007, Resolution 07-13, and part of the resolution states, until the following applicable fees and charges have been paid in full, no action of any type or kind shall be taken on a petition, appeal, or application. This information was discovered weeks after the applications were submitted, in many cases months after the applicants have been trying to get this done, and essentially one business day before the actual hearing. So in order to hear these applications, the town council needs to consider what to do about that resolution, and an option has been drafted, Resolution 2025-15, which would allow the town council to waive the requirements, fees, and charges adopted in Resolution 0713 for these three applications, and limiting that waiver only to these three applications. But the town council has to decide what to do in order for us to be in compliance. Let's see here. The land development regulations state reasonable fees sufficient to cover the cost of administration, inspection, publication of notice, and similar matters may be charged to applicants for zoning amendments. The amount of the fees charged shall be established by resolution of the town council filed in the office of the town clerk. This resolution, the schedule of fees, was also supposed to be posted in the town clerk's office. It was not posted in the town clerk's office. So here we are.
Can there be a third designation? Oh.
Chair.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Could there be a third option in that we postpone these until we can handle them, since the election's not, the final hearing's not for another 2 weeks, rather than just say, do away with it, because there are we do have a good amount of cost, which is the reason towns have fees, but we want to be fair. We don't want to make these people wait another forever and ever, amen. Can that be an option, that we postpone the handling of the fees or something?
Any option is on the table. That's for you to decide. But the town has already paid for publication for these hearings to be heard on the 14th and the 28th. And if the hearings are not heard on the 14th and the 28th, then the town is going to still have to incur fees. So the fees that we've already spent, we're not going to get recouped anyway, because now we have double expense because we have to start the process.
Well, I'm not saying put off the hearings. I'm saying put off the decision on how much the fees would be, because this is a normal process, is it not? It's not something that just popped up out of the blue. It did for us, but everything does for us. So if this is a normal point of business for a town to have fees, would we be remiss in postponing it till we figure out, are these fair fees for what they were done, and don't make it contingent on before, they have to pay for it before the hearing?
That's up for all of you to decide.
I'm just trying to spare the town when this is not an abnormal plan of business or whatever. I don't know what I'm saying.
Just for these three applications, it's not No, what we did was did not make them, where we made it where they wouldn't have to hook up to the city, which is technically waiving a fee for them.
Well, let's just waive the fees for everybody, always, forever, and ever. This is.
Is this,
Yes, go ahead.
are these considered actions, when you get, if you don't act within a certain time, and actions that have been, throwing somebody, and is it, I think the same state statute covers the zoning, it's got to need to be done in a timely manner, and I know some of these have been there a long time.
The town is obligated to hear these matters in a timely manner, and we have certainly pushed that to the limit already. We tried, once we became aware of the situation, to try to get these scheduled as quickly as possible. But if for some reason they're not heard today, we've got to start.
I'm not saying put off the hearings, I'm saying put off the choice of whether or not we have fees that are applicable, because we are incurring expenses that are normally covered by fees by every town.
I think it would just be a matter of how you articulate that, what it would look like.
So most fees that we've had incurred just advertising,
No.
or what?
Well, that's the one we know about, that's the hard cost. There's obviously attorney time and planning consultant time. But it's also hard to give it a number because this is our first time doing it. So we're doing everything from scratch, which takes far longer.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
With the amount of time that you had to put in, the most of your fees came from the letter, because you got the letter from the attorney, which made it a legal matter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all right. So that's the letter of our fees, which means it still wouldn't be on the citizen, it's still on the town, because the letter went to the town and it wasn't the citizen, correct? Or would that fee be something that the citizens would have to pay, your legal fee? Or is that the town, because you were given a letter from a citizen attorney?
I work for the town, so the town.
So it's for the town.
pays.
So it's not a fee that the citizens in question with the full parcel would have to pay.
If I may say one other thing, back in 2007, that's what we're talking about tonight, with a fee of $1,000, which is exorbitant in any place I know.
It's what?
$1,000 to amend the official zoning hours. It's less than 10 acres.
And you're saying that's high or low?
For 20 years ago. You're seeing fees like that more, a lot around today. But everybody's different, everybody's got different fees. When the town creates their fees, they need to do a lot of research into figuring out what's a fair amount.
Well, we can get that through the Florida League, but not tonight. What I'm asking is that we postpone this fee thing, don't just throw it in the trash. And go ahead and do the hearing with the option to bring this back up. Is that something doable?
So let me see if I can articulate it for you. That this would waive the requirements and fees and charges outlined in the resolution to the extent that it would allow the applications to continue to be heard today. And the town council can meet at a later date to determine if any fees will be charged for these applications. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm thinking so, because it's not an odd occurrence. It's not a out of the realm totally just thrown in the trash if there's another option.
That's the up to.
Robert?
Up to me? No.
Now, I just want your opinion.
I
You don't get
very-
the total vote.
I get 6 votes, sorry. I very rarely find myself stumped when it comes to something like this. And I honestly, every option feels like a bad option. Because we have incurred, I don't know, I can't even put a number on it, but it's significantly more than $1,000 of expenses per request. I know that we can't be setting a precedent to not charge fees, but at the same point in time, it's not the applicant's fault that they've had to wait 6+ months to get their applications through. And it feels like either way, we either have to redo the notifications, right? We have to spend another $400 on putting it into the newspaper. This meeting here probably is costing us $1,000 to put together. So that'll all have to be kicked down the line again, but at the same point in time, if we don't charge fees, we open ourselves to an appeal, saying we didn't follow the process. If we don't follow the process, it could all just end up being squashed on appeal anyway. And we're back to square one. Nobody wants the state showing up to their house in 6 months and tearing down the trailer because we didn't make them pay a fee. So it just feels like either way, we're gonna make the wrong decision.
Is
So
this
that's why I'm
something
sitting here quiet.
Is this something we can hear from the people like we did before, on spending their money?
We can definitely get their opinions on it, but there's risk regardless of what we pick. And as far as deciding to move forward without fees or no fees, in 0713, it expressly says that you're not allowed to work on it until you get the fees. So we'll be off process again if we tell them we can come back later.
Unless we do the resolution, right?
The process is what the council decides the process is. The fees are what the council decides the fees are.
So if we can make specific fees for this occasion, that would satisfy that.
Yes. Because none of these schedule of fees were ever posted and made available. So it's not the applicant's fault.
Right, it's not the council, well, it's the other council. It's not
This is
us.
from 2007, doesn't tell.
So can I ask to hear from the floor now?
I would love to get people to see the faces.
Hold on one second. Shirley, do you have anything to say about this?
I think I'm following what Cheryl was saying as far as, are we in a way to exclude for anybody else who decides they want to do that?
No.
It's these three.
Just these three.
And it's simple because it wasn't posted before.
It wasn't posted, it wasn't known about. No one currently affiliated with the town knew it existed until Thursday. And the resolution also states that any application submitted after the effective date of this resolution must comply with the requirements of Resolution 0713 or any subsequent resolution enacted to establish such requirements.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. It's just, I'm on vacation right now, so I do understand what you're saying. I was thinking that Cheryl was trying to think also that if we waiver this, what right do we have to not waiver it for someone else? Cheryl, am I hearing you right, or?
Well, I think if it's worded right, it'll just be specific to these three.
These three specifics, okay. Okay.
Because of these special circumstances.
Okay, I understand. Right.
However, it's responsibility to the citizens to spend their money. I think we should hear from the citizens. All right, guys, somebody say something. Wait a minute. No?
Let me read the resolution title. A resolution of the town council of the town of White Springs, Florida, waiving the requirements, fees, and charges adopted in Resolution 207-13 for applications RZ 2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03, limiting said waiver to only these applications and providing an effective date.
Okay.
And that's the number assigned to this rezoning.
Is the floor open?
Yes, I just didn't see anybody from the floor want to speak.
Good afternoon, I'm Roger Greene. My address is 16590 Spring Street, White Springs, Florida. It's nice that we're going to have a land development zone board now, but I can tell you, if you don't have a fee schedule, you're going to be inundated with amendment changes. You set this fee schedule low, you're going to spend all your time dealing with amendment changes. Our tax base in this town is based on, it is somewhat based on this fee schedule. And we have very few people paying in. Growth is coming this way. There's going to be a lot of people and a lot of things that are going to come up that are going to request amendments to land development regulations. And you need to set that fee at a point where it's worth their while. It's got to be really worth their while to amend this land development regulations. What we have parallels the city of Gainesville, Florida. They've been in tax since 1998. We've gone a number of years without our council being even aware of land development regulations. And they completely ignore them. So we have to have a fee schedule. And I would advise you ask the applicants right now. If you throw out a number, if they're not willing to pay $1,000 for their application, they may want to withdraw, save a lot of time, and even extend the application. That's all it is.
Anybody else?
Scott Gay, 10565 Kendrick Street. The town didn't just restart with the change in the administration. These rules have been in existence since 1998. The dollar store followed them, dollar store 2 followed them, the liquor store followed them. We just don't get to restart 3 months ago. I think by suggesting that you set a special fee schedule, you're creating a second class of applicant. So we have two classes of applicant now. The ones today, because of special circumstances, and anyone who follows. So, but the town just didn't restart 2 weeks ago. You stepped in the shoes of an incompetent administration. So you have to deal with the issues they created. Don't get to sweep them under the rug. We have to pay the price. There's a price for doing things wrong. There's 2 sides to every transaction. So that's all I have to say on that.
I've got a little bit more to say than this. Judith McClure, 16630 Spring Street. In regard to resolution R, I think it's 22-02503, I do not wish to see the zoning change to permit this trailer for several reasons. One,
Not yet. We're talking about fees right now.
fees, okay, I apologize.
Yeah, the fees right now.
I will be back.
Okay.
I have 2 pages.
Okay. We're talking about the fees, nothing else but the fees.
I know. I'm Cynethia William, 1697 Sunrise Drive, White Springs, Florida. I am one of the applicants. I do not have a problem with the fee. If there's a fee set, I'm willing to pay it.
Okay, both of them are willing to pay $1,000 fees.
Now, would that be 2,000 for us since it's 2?
For each one.
I win.
But I do have a question, Cynethia. When you were working with the town, and this goes back to the down plat that just got approved, when they filed to get theirs rezoned last year, Did they pay the $1,000 fee for the rezone? No. So, I'm just gonna put it like this. It wasn't an issue about that. None of you complained about them not paying their rezoning fee. Nothing came up in those meetings about the fee when they applied to get rezoned. And this is a multi-million-dollar company who applied for the rezoning. This resolution is only for 3 properties of people who live here in this town. You did not make a development company. None of you questioned it when the development company wanted to come get rezoned. Nobody questioned their fee table, what they had to pay, and they, looking at this list, they would have had to pay quite a bit more fees than just $1,000 for rezoning. I don't see what the issue is. Some of these things I'm starting to look at as maybe personal with some people, because Diamond Flats didn't pay it, and that's a North, I'm talking, you can talk in a minute. North Florida Planning and BBL, those are million, those $2 million. Those are companies that make well over $1 million. Are we gonna go back and charge them a fee now? Is that what you all are suggesting?
Yes, with your
Okay.
oversight.
As long as it's the same for everybody else, because they've already been approved, so how do you suggest we're gonna go back and do that? Because they've been approved.
Talk to your town attorney.
Because that never came up at all with them, period.
So we absolutely cannot use the way the previous administration operated in zoning for any kind of standard. They ignored the 4 rezoning requests for over there for 3 years until the developer lost their funding. Their investors walked away because they got tired of waiting, and they lost everything in that deal. So you're talking about people who lost 6 figures of money because the town sat around and did nothing for 2 years. So I'm not sure what exactly we're going to glean from how they did anything.
What I'm saying is, when they apply, the same people that come to these meetings now are most of the same people who were at these meetings previously. We have the same group that's at every council meeting. No one mentioned this fee schedule then. This is not a permanent thing. It's not like we're sweeping anything under the rug, even though both said that they can afford it and they will pay it, which is no problem. They've already agreed to do it. It's just that I'm asking the question, why this has never come up before with the previous properties that have been rezoned. They didn't pay the fees either.
They didn't know anything about these fees?
No, and we just found out about them after they have applied for them and been waiting to do them. So when you're saying be fair, be fair. If they want to pay it, okay, then there's no problem for them because they all can afford it.
Well, can
So-
I just say something about
But
that?
it's just,
I would obviously rather not have to pay $2,000 on something that I previously wasn't aware that there was any fee on. If it has to be done, it has to be done. But part of this is what we're rezoning is 2 properties together. So if I get doubled on the fees, that's a little more painful to me. And I think that you'll see in my presentation that this was originally most likely a mistake by the city to begin with.
I think I made a mistake, but it says $1,000 is up to 10 acres. He's got less than 10 acres, it's around 50. Up to 10 acres, it says in the official. On that much, less than 10 acres, I think that would be
I think
$1,000.
it's probably at the 1,500 part. Is it the 1,500
Oh,
or
no, no,
1,000?
no,
Yeah,
on that.
less than $10,000, the official zoning.
1,000 for Hutchinson, 1,000 for Deletions.
Yeah,
According to this.
yeah, $1,000.
So if it's less than 10 acres, they don't have to pay
They pay $1,000. They pay
$1,000? They pay
up to 10 acres.
up to 10 acres.
So, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
So, George Tuider, 16511 Judith Street, White Springs. So each parcel is its own separate transaction. So if I have several vehicles that I take to the county, even though I live in one spot, I pay registration for each one of those vehicles. So if I'm coming forward to the town with multiple properties to have a zoning change, then there's a process for each one of those properties that the town has to go through. So if each tract is over 10 acres, then that would be a different thing. But if the fee is for up to a certain size, then that fee applies to each property that they want the zoning changed on.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Tom Brazil, property owner, 167 Collins Street. First off, I want to say, y'all are doing a job that nobody would want.
Yeah.
Y'all inherited a dumpster fire, okay? I disagree with Scott. You're not, if you waive the fees, you're not creating two classes, you're creating three. You're creating people for, see, the thing for the fees now and for the thing for the future. You're creating three classes of people. The zoning problems in the town are not your fault. This stuff's been going on for a long time. But we gotta start somewhere to fix things. And you're either gonna have a fee schedule, or you're not gonna have a fee schedule. You know, you start waiving for this one, then, you know, we get somebody else on the council, and they got somebody they know, and they wanna waive for that person. You're opening, attorney probably tell you, you're opening a trick bag doing it. I really think you need to just, if there's fees involved, there's fees involved. Whether they've had to wait 2 years or whatever, I agree. You know, if they want to recoup some of their costs, they can litigate with the town. But, you know, you can't fix what the previous council did. You can't fix the fact they waited 3 years on some of these zoning applications. Time and acres over there, we can't fix that. That's already done. And they want the attorney to tell you to do it, rebill them for fees. If that was what required a zoning change, I don't know if you can or not after the fact, but like I said, I just think it's a bad precedent. You gotta start somewhere to fix this. Because you got so many zones, you got property zones, the school that people are living in, there's so many zoning problems in the town. But we gotta start somewhere to fix it.
Anybody else? Yes.
Scott Gay, 10565 Kendrick Street. Nikki, the difference between now and Diamond Street is that was running secret and there was no sunshine. Thanks to you guys for doing things in the sunshine. Most of us didn't know what was going on with Diamond Street. Diamond Street should not be signed off on now because there was some false information submitted. That's why they got the permit. So if that's been signed off on, that's a problem. But thanks to the sunshine, we now know about it. We didn't know about the DBL stuff. A lot of it.
It has not been signed off, although the law says we need to, but I need to do everything on that before.
That's all you can do, just get an engineer.
Anybody else?
Is that just so, is that just?
Council? Would y'all have anything else to discuss?
Come up with a rewording on this resolution.
So, you want me to use my deductive reasoning of what you are trying to drive over to me? Okay. Let's see here. So, section 4, applications 1 through 3 can be heard at the public hearing set forth, and all further action necessary to complete and continue without delay. We can keep that. Okay, we all agree on that, right? All right. Section 2, about waiving the requirements and fees, we can remove that language.
Are we gonna charge them the entire thousand, or are we gonna?
That is a discount. This is costing us easily between $2,000 and $3,000 an application. They're getting still $1,000. So that's my opinion.
Since the question's come up, the way this is written about less than 10 acres, I think, from what I've been about, I think it's just one zoning, all those two applications here. So it may be $1,000, but I'm sure I'd ask if you would, if you would.
For the first two,
For the
to
first
provide
two.
them at one.
Yeah. I think we combine them as one, would y'all be objectionable to changing the parcel numbers to one parcel?
Well, that depends, can we have two homes on it?
Huh?
I don't know about changing the parcel.
Well, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
how you can subdivide that and.
I think that might create more problems if we
More
decide.
I think for the sake of this hearing, that's how we word it, that these two applications are considered as one.
The changes, the requested changes are the same and the arguments are the same.
Yeah.
And I would presume with the planning consultant, the evaluation is the same.
And even though we have to file two applications for a lot,
If we're gonna pay, if we're gonna do it the correct way, not trying to be, but to make it fair, because he has two properties he's getting zoned. It's not fair to Cynethia to have to pay $1,000 for one property, and he's only paying $1,000 for two. So if we're gonna follow the book, let's follow the book,
And Diamond also will only pay $1,000.
which that means they need to pay three now, correct? Because they have three.
Yeah, wherever the number of
Okay.
lots is, yeah.
So however, if we're gonna follow it, we're gonna follow it and do the same for every person. No special, if we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do it across the board for everybody to keep it fair and above board. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, and then time period wise, do we want to maybe hear from them so that it doesn't have to, I don't want it to be just me. I want it to be in the resolution about time wise.
In the next 60 days, maybe?
60 days? Okay. All right, so we've got section 1 would stay the same, section 2 is removed. Section 3 will state that within 60 days, a $1,000 fee will be paid for each application. I'll put out which ones they are, 1, 2, and 3. And then number 4 becomes 3. Applications 1, 2, 3 can be heard at the public hearing set forth for July 14, 28, and all further action necessary to complete the application process may continue without delay. Section 5 becomes 4. These provisions only apply to these 3 applications. Applications submitted after the effective date of this resolution must comply with the requirements of Resolution 07-13 or any subsequent resolution enacted to establish such requirements, fees, and charges. And Section 5, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
And we need to waive Article 1 of Resolution 07-13.
Number 3 is to now can be heard, let's see. We can add in, right, I can add in. Let's see here, the provision that states that until, the provision within 60 days, a $1,000 fee will be paid for each application. Applications 1, 2, or 3. 4 remains the same. 5 just states that these provisions only apply to these, and then the rest of the part. That's the only change. These provisions only apply.
Shirley, you have anything to say at this time? So we give you a motion? Okay.
As amended. With the stated amendments.
That was Shirley's motion. Okay.
With the stated amendments. No.
Oh, no, we just gotta make a motion. Alright. Okay.
The stated amendments.
I move that we accept motion 2025 with the, resolution 2025 with the approved amendments for resolution 713 for rezoning of 2025-01, resolution 2025-01, resolution 2025-02, and resolution 2025-03.
One correction, sorry. For the title, instead of where it says waiving the requirements, let's call that amending. And that said amendments.
Okay, amending requirements.
Amending the requirements. And then later on, that said amendments.
I second, motion.
Okay, it has been motion and second that the amending requirements resolutions 07-13 for RZ 2025-01, RZ 2025-02, and RZ 2025-03. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Amendment?
No, that's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh.
I may make one statement as well. I'm gonna get with all the other cities and get a synopsis of all small cities and the general area of what the fee schedule is, so we'll have something to work with.
Okay.
Continue to add to it.
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn this town council meeting.
I second motion.
There has been motion and second that we adjourn this town council meeting.
You got call the time. 6:55.
6:55.